Hey everybody, welcome to issue 6 of A Month of Mondays podcast. This week on the show, we're going to be talking about NXT Takeover War Games 2. And of course, Survivor Series 2018. And we will be having an interview with Gordon Rupe from Rumbling Rumors. Hit me with that sweet, sweet intro music. Turkey Day's just around the corner. I know you're hungry as hell, and let me feed you a big old dose of wrestling. I'm your host, the man with a face for podcasting, Gabe Giannis, and you're listening to issue 6 of A Month of Mondays. Intro, issue 6. 3, 2, 1. Do this real quick. Hey everybody, welcome to issue 6 of the show. This show, of course, is A Month of Mondays podcast, your weekly wrestling magazine show. I'm your host, Gabe Giannis. Today we will be talking to Gordon Rupe from Rumbling Rumors, which is a tongue twister for me for some reason. You might ask yourself why I'm wearing this hat. Well, I'm in the basement and it's cold today because I live in Colorado and sometimes Colorado gets obnoxiously cold. But there's that. Before we get to the interview, of course, we have got to talk about my weekend wrestling. This week started off with a bang. That Monday Night Raw with Becky Lynch coming out, creating a Donnybrook to build that incredible Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch feud. Oh my God, I can't wait for that match on Survivor Series. Why, Nia Jax? Why you gotta punch my lady in the face like that? I mean, come on. Takes her out of the match. The concussion policy makes it so that she can't do it. I am suddenly completely disinterested in Survivor Series because the one match that I was genuinely really interested in, I ended up not really caring about anymore because Becky Lynch is out. Okay? So, gotta attach myself to my boy, Shinsuke Nakamura. I get myself a little more excited for Seth Rollins. But Seth Rollins in that same show cuts a promo where he tells us that he doesn't care about the match and neither should we. He's way more focused on Dean Ambrose. What the hell is going on? Oh well. You know what I'm gonna do to assuage my pain? I am going to go ahead and start watching Hardcore TV, ECW Hardcore TV from episode 1 on the WWE Network. I made it through 10 episodes. They're silly, man. Before ECW was Extreme Championship Wrestling, it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, and some of those episodes are super dorky. I got to watch Terry Funk cut a promo on a horse's ass. Can't go wrong with that. This is good times. So, fast forward, Saturday night. First of all, Saturday during the day, went to Hall of Justice Comics and Collectibles in beautiful Parker, Colorado, owned by my friend and co-host John Garnett. He is doing local comic shop day. He is doing his anniversary. He is doing his grand opening in his new space. And of course, he is recording with us the 100th episode of Thinking Outside the Long Box, my original podcast, hitting a huge milestone this weekend. Check that out at www.totlb.com. I promise you the 300 to 400 hours of content that have come from those 100 episodes will keep you entertained for quite some time. Fair warning, that show has an E rating for a reason. But Saturday night, my friend John Clyde Still Van Dam, that's his name here, not his real name, of course. He shows up from South Carolina to record a 100th episode with us. We have a great time, and I make them sit down and watch Takeover War Games. Holy bleep, as Ronaldo said. Mama effing Mia, also Ronaldo. My God, what a pay-per-view. They could not have crammed more exciting crap into that show if they tried. You would have to be on drugs to not like that episode. My lord, Takeover War Games was unbelievable. If you didn't see it, because for whatever reason you have chosen not to watch NXT, get off your ass, get that network, go watch it. Dude, if you have that free month, you haven't bought that free month, get it right now, watch it. I don't care what you do after that. But Takeover War Games was unbelievable. I love NXT, Velveteen Dream and Ciampa, unreal. Gargano and Black, unreal. Baszler and Kairi Sane, unbelievable. The War Games match, crazy. Matt Riddle was awesome. I cannot say enough good stuff about that pay-per-view. I absolutely loved it. And it made me even less excited about Survivor Series. I went into this with so much trepidation. I was so terrified that this was going to be a terrible pay-per-view. And you know what? It wasn't. It was pretty fun. I got done with recording the second half of the 100th episode Sunday morning. I had a couple hours until Survivor Series pre-show even started, but I just threw on the network in the background while we did chores around the house. Watched some cool Survivor Series matches from the past on the network. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Got to watch the tag team schmaz, which was the only match that SmackDown won for some unfathomable reason. The match quality itself was good. It was really good. The women's match was interesting. It kept me engaged the entire time. Shinsuke versus Seth was exactly the kind of Donnybrook I was hoping for. Just incredibly athletic, a ton of fun to watch. And of course, my man Shinsuke Nakamura cannot catch a break in the WWE. Someday, maybe Vince McMahon will realize that he is one of the greatest wrestlers of our time and will use him properly to beat the ever-living piss out of people with that Kinshasa. But still a great match. Fast forwarding through a bunch of other stuff, the men's match was good, the 205 Live match was great, whatever. I was excited for Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, so I was very interested to see where Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey went. The match started good, it was interesting, it was entertaining, they were kicking the hell out of each other, and then Charlotte snaps. And suddenly, I am very, very interested in this match. Suddenly, I am so excited to watch Charlotte Flair go to town on Ronda Rousey with kendo sticks, dropping her on a chair, just kicking the ever-living crap out of her, giving Ronda Rousey the beating of a lifetime. And you know what? Ronda came out with the win because Charlotte Flair was disqualified. But Ronda Rousey, you did not win that match. And you know what that makes me excited for? Who won the last woman standing match against Charlotte Flair? Who stood tall in the face of all of those same kinds of intense, brutal attacks? Who stood tall? One might even say, who was the sole survivor of the last woman standing between Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch? Oh, that's right. The man, Becky Lynch, the champ. And I cannot wait to watch them build up Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch for, fingers crossed, WrestleMania. Holy crap, that would be one of the best matches in the world to watch. I hope they find a way to do it. I hope they find a way to put some really serious stakes on it. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what happens on Monday, which is tonight, and Tuesday, which is tomorrow, when it comes to Charlotte and Becky and Ronda and all of that chaos. One more thing to talk about. Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. I get it. It was a good match. It was interesting. They needed something to do because Becky Lynch was off of the show. So they turned Daniel heel and put him in the ring against Brock Lesnar. It was a great match. I love Daniel Bryan. I am sick to death of watching Brock Lesnar win wrestling matches. He could not be more boring to me. Nothing about him is interesting. Nothing about the way he wrestles is interesting. All I wanted was to watch Daniel Bryan go over. But of course, Brock Lesnar, he's the beast. And Vince McMahon loves him to death. So, too bad, Daniel Bryan. You don't get your win. Raw sweeps Survivor Series, with the exception of the tag team match. And the fact that they're ignoring that happened says a little too much about what the WWE thinks of their tag team division. With that said, that was my week in wrestling. Let's get to that interview with Gordon Rupe of Rumbling Rumors. You know what? He and I were chatty. So, enjoy. All right, everybody, on the line, we have Gordon Rupe. He's one of the writers over at Rumbling Rumors. It's a daily wrestling blog. They have the kind of things that we retweet and like all the time on our Twitter page. You know, the rumors, the top 10 lists, the news, like, we got yesterday about Alexa Bliss not being in Evolution, like those kinds of things. They are one of my personal go-to places for wrestling articles. Gordon, how are you doing today, man?
I am cool in the gang. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. It's, I hate to say what day of the week it is and that sort of stuff because it puts weird timestamps on stuff. But man, it's a beautiful October Sunday in Colorado right now, and I'm enjoying the day. So there you go.
Yeah, it's not too cold. It's the porridge that Goldilocks ate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the Alexa Bliss thing because those are my bragging rights right there. I popped that story on Monday or Tuesday.
Right.
And everyone, I was so proud. I got called fake news. Like, this guy tweeted me. He's like, "You're fake news. Unless WWE says it, it's not true." And no, it was Tuesday. I'm sorry, it was Tuesday. And then I got a bunch of people telling me, "Oh, you're not credible," and blah, blah, blah. And so Lillian Garcia comes out and she says, that she interviewed Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss announced that she wasn't going to be at Evolution, and Alicia Fox is going to take her place. So all the people that called me fake news and all the people that called me, uncredible, as it were, I tweeted them a picture of her tweet, and I'm like, "Would you like to call Miss Garcia, fake news too?"
Right. So that kind of leads me into my first question. Wrestling fans are like notoriously crappy when it comes to responding to anything that they just don't like. As somebody that's producing like news, like daily content about wrestling, how do you respond to like just that smart guy that thinks he's like the hottest of hot? He wants to tell you that you're so wrong when you're not wrong.
Ramsey, who runs Rumbling Rumors, which is rumblingrumors.com, by the way. Ramsey he's so much better at it than I, because for him it is water off a duck's back. But I write an article and somebody starts to criticize me, and I'm like, "Listen here, man. Let me tell you." I start to channel Road Dogg from the old days, and I'm like, "You better call somebody," because I wrote an article about Bobby Lashley and how he was up and coming, and then they ruin it by introducing Lilo Rush as his mouthpiece, and I call him Urkel 2.0. And, oh, man, you would have think I ripped somebody's arms off and beat them with it. They're like, "Lilo Rush is awesome, and how dare you?" And, I'm like, okay, calm down.
It's funny because, wrestling is just entertainment. But I feel like so many people get so invested in this particular brand of entertainment that occasionally they can't see the forest for the trees. Like, they're way more interested in the fact that you bash their favorite thing, whether it's true or not, that they lose track of, "Oh yeah, you were right." Like, do you ever feel the need? I mean, you said you did with the like this Alexa Bliss article, but do you ever feel the need to like go back to that one guy and be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I was right."
Dude, I am so infamous for that. I am. Ramsey will tell you I am horrible when it comes to that, because I will tweet somebody and be like, "Hey, you remember how I said I was wrong? Well, WWE just confirmed it, so I got 2 words for you." And, I'm horrible about that.
Nice.
But I feel it's justified because, writing for sports entertainment isn't like writing for politics, and it's not like writing for anything else, because the people who read these articles are way more reactive than they are if you write about politics, or if you write, and so their knee-jerk reaction is to attack, like, how dare you say that XYZ, I mean, I wrote an article about the fact that I thought that Evolution was ill-timed. Being the first all-female pay-per-view, they should give it more pomp and circumstance than they gave it. And it was being construed as me saying Evolution shouldn't happen at all. And what I experience a lot is people react to the headline. They don't read the story. They react to the headline.
That's interesting. Like, it's with written media, especially in today's like quick retweet or quick repost on Facebook, I find a lot of people do that. Do you think that as a blogger, you're having more difficulty getting people to comprehend the full story than maybe you would if you were just doing like a 2-minute news video or something like that?
Well, it makes it easier to discern the real fans from the come hither fans, so to speak. The true fans because they will have a dialogue with you about the article. And they'll say, well, yeah, but what if XYZ? As opposed to the people who you can tell who the people are who are just reacting to the headline.
That's interesting. Like when you have those guys that are like just reacting to the headline, I'm sure they're, it's easy to just be like, yeah, that guy just doesn't know what he's talking about. When you have somebody that engages in dialogue, do you think, the role of social media and the role of like you as like a wrestling journalist kind of bridging that gap between fan and the people that are right on top of the business all the time has improved the product or made the product, less accessible or, weird to certain people?
Well, I think people, well, for one, as a writing, sports journalist, or however you'd like to word it, I incorporate the people I'm writing about. If I write an article about Dana Brooke, I send it to Dana Brooke. And, I send it to Chris Jericho, and I send it to whoever I'm writing it about. I mean, Dana Brooke has sent me a few messages about some of the articles I've written about her. So it's a matter of a lot of sports journalists don't include the people they're writing about, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If I write an article about New Day, I send Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and I send them copies of the article.
That's cool. The access that social media provides us to reach out to these people seems like such a different way of being able to like access stars and celebrities, for lack of a better term. Do you think that detracts or improves like the business as a whole?
Well, I think it depends on the writer, frankly, because you have writers who they just write gossip and trash and they all that kind of thing. So of course they're not going to send a copy of their article to who they're writing about. I try to be indifferent. I try not to be too critical of whomever I'm writing about. So that way, there can be an open dialogue with the person I wrote it about and or the fans, and it becomes an all-inclusive article. Ramsey does the same thing. I mean, he's very, when fans want to talk to him about an article or something, he's right there with it, And I think a lot of, you can't do that with a lot of, sports writers, sports entertainment writers. They act like they're too good to respond.
Huh, that's, it's funny because I reach out to a ton of people and I set my goals high. Like I reach out to everybody that I want to talk to, and it seems like, the independent kind of wrestling media is a lot more prone to respond to you than anybody else. Do you think that us smaller voices in wrestling media are still getting heard by a broad enough audience to influence like the direction that wrestling is taking right now?
Well, to me, it's a matter of whether you're small time or big time, they're watching because they want to know what's being said about their company, whether it's a big company or a small company or whatever. They want to know what the public opinion is. Whether they act on it or not, that's a completely different conversation.
Right.
Because a lot of, like with WWE, they're infamous for recycling storylines. Infamous. I mean, you had Kane and Daniel Bryan going to a counselor, and then you had, it was kind of like the same storyline repeated like 2 or 3 times. And a lot of people were like, oh, God, this old chestnut, And WWE heard that, and they got rid of that concept. So
they are listening. The WWE's tendrils are everywhere.
They're like Big Brother, man. I mean, I've like I said, I've sent out several articles, and the response I get from the superstars is, usually positive. I mean, I think I had maybe 1 or 2 who wrote me back who was like, how dare you? Who do you think you are? And I said, easy, I'm a fan.
Right.
I'm the one who buys the tickets to your events. That's who I am.
Right.
And all of a sudden it was, oh, well, thank you. Like all of a sudden the tune changed,
What do you think being a writer for this website has afforded you, the most? Like, do you see benefits to writing that you feel you have past just being a fan?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You kind of broke up for a second.
Oh yeah, no worries. What benefits do you feel like having a writer for this site affords you over just being a basic fan?
Well, it's funny because a lot of my other writing experience comes into play very nice because I've written several books, I've written for other websites, and so a lot of the experience I picked up kind of brought me to this, because I initially, when I got on board with Ramsey, I was like, well, I'll write maybe 1 or 2 articles a week. And then I found myself like writing 8 articles in one day. And I'm like, I love this. Like, the power, and because you do have to do research. I mean, I don't want anyone to think that, you can just watch an episode of Raw and all of a sudden you're a sports writer. It's a matter of you have to know what the storyline is and or was. You have to know who the players are. You have to know, is this injury a put on or is this injury legit? Or, things of that nature. So there is research involved, and it does make you a better writer if you're just starting out because it teaches you how to do the research and it teaches you how to stay on top of a story. And whether you're going to be a sports performer, writer for the rest of your career, or whether you want to branch out, you always have to be able to do research. You always have to be able to stay on top of a story.
That's cool. Like when When you're doing your research, what are some of the avenues that you turn to?
There's like everything. I go to, CNN for some of them. I go to, with the article that I broke when it came to the Saudi Arabia journalist murder and the connection between, because a lot of people were like, what does that have to do with WWE? Well, Vince McMahon's good friends with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the boss of Linda McMahon, and so there is the direct WWE connection for the sheer fact of, Linda McMahon reports to Donald Trump.
Right.
And, with Kane becoming mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, and, things of that nature, there was more than one connotation. And so, you use CNN, you use Huffington Post, you use, Wikipedia, there's a lot of different research avenues to go to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was probably just breathed too heavy there.
I have that effect on people.
I've been suffering some fall allergies, so every once in a while you're probably going to get a good.
No, my son has it, so I mean, he, we have to do the nose drops and the whole nine, and he hates it.
It's rough.
Yeah.
So as we kind of like approach the end of the interview, what do you feel as like a provider of wrestling media, other, content creators could be doing better, and maybe even what you feel you could be doing better?
Well, first, what other content creators could be doing better is not worrying about what everybody else is doing. Everybody is so worried about what, not just their coworkers, but their competition's doing. Do your own thing, because, that's how, you don't get attention being a cookie board cutout.
Right.
You don't get attention from other media outlets by being like everybody else. And that's the problem with a lot of the wrestling websites. And I'm not saying any names, What Culture. But I mean, it's just so generic and so cookie board cutout. And, it's like, look, you know what? I liked this the first 30 times I saw it before this time. Right.
It's funny though. I did spend like 2 hours watching them this morning while I made breakfast.
Well, you know what? I'm it's funny because on all the major wrestling stories, and yes, I'm bragging. I broke it before they did, not by hours, but like by days.
Right.
And so it's like. There's that, I get like hate mail from like the hardcore fans of What Culture, and they're like, well, you ripped them off. And I'm like, how'd I rip them off if I did it days before they did? And then magically I get blocked. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah. Oh, that block button.
Well, or as I like to call it, the instant unfollow.
Right.
But as far as what I could be doing better, I always try, I like to try new things. I like to experiment with my writing. I like doing the top 5 lists. I like doing the top 10 lists. I like, when I do those kind of lists, I like doing the obscure, like, the things you really didn't know, as opposed to the generic. Did you know Randy Orton was in the Marines? Yeah, so did everybody else.
Right.
As opposed to, his tattoos were specifically designed by him and da-da-da-da-da, and, things of that nature. Things that are really obtuse, very obscure, very, And so when you read my top 5s or my top 10s, you're not getting what everybody else is dishing out. And so that's what I like to do, is I like to strive for that individuality in my writing. And I think everyone should strive for that, as far as no matter what they're reporting on, the difference is yes, it's a story, but what is your perspective?
Right.
Because I could read the story, but I want to know what your take on it is. What is it connected to? How is it connected? I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, I wrote an article about Charlotte Flair, and, a lot of my readers know that I'm not a huge fan because all you hear from Charlotte Flair is, I don't want to ride daddy's coattails. So what happens? She has the 4 horsewomen. She does the figure 8 leg lock, the figure 4 leg lock. She has his theme, but to like some sort of, Daft Punk remix. She comes out and she does the whoo, but she doesn't want to ride daddy's coattails.
Right, while mimicking her dad top to bottom.
Yeah, and it's like, what? And so I try, when I bring that up in an article, I automatically get criticized for it.
Right, but that's okay though, because Lynch is the champion right now. And no matter how much they try to push her as a heel, we're all going to keep cheering her because she's amazing.
Becky's my girl, man. That's my girl.
She's like same page.
she's like stone cold but hot.
Well, I mean, Stone Cold probably is hot to a certain segment of the audience. Just saying.
Well, no, I mean, I guess. I mean, but people, to kind of, and the answer, I think people need to bring their individual perspectives to their writing, no matter what they're writing. And I don't see a lot of that in sports entertainment. It's all cookie board cut out. It's all, well, they said this on, XYZ podcast and da-da-da-da-da. And my one of my mantras throughout my entire writing career is, don't believe what I write, research what I write. Don't take me at face value. I could just be making this up as I go along.
I like that. I like the you're willing to be accountable to the point where you say, don't just believe it, go find out for yourself. That's a good, I think that's a good note to wrap this one up on.
Always show your sources.
How can people find you as a source for their news?
I am like herpes. I'm everywhere. No, I'm kidding. I'm not on Instagram. On Twitter, I am at Gordon Rupe, which is, I couldn't come up with anything, so I'm just gonna use my name. You can find me on rumblingrumors.com. You can find me on barnesandnoble.com. All you got to do is enter my name and my books will come up. And I'm on Facebook. I'm on, like I said, I'm pretty much everywhere,
It's the way to be for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to be, in this, because all of my books are ebooks. I don't write paper books because people don't have the time anymore. They put it in their iPad, and they load it up, and then they read it when they have the chance.
Right. That's why I still am a fan of the paperback, because it fits in my pocket. But Gordon, thank you so much for being on our show. I really appreciate just a discussion about wrestling media in general. That's the whole focus of this particular episode. And I would love to have you on sometime to talk about other stuff that we might just be interested in together. So
anytime, man, anytime. I mean, I've got the internet. You've got the internet. We can chat. That's
nice.
Fine.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Gordon. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
You too, man.
Hey everybody, that was my interview with Gordon Rupe from Rumbling Rumors. I gotta say it slow and enunciate it like that, or it comes out run. But hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure talking with him. Be sure to go check out his site. There's a lot of great content on there. I mean, he is posting like every day, and so are the other writers on the site. Like, it's a really good place to go for wrestling news, wrestling lists, you know, just general wrestling, absolutely whatever. So, check out Rumbling Rumors while you're at it. Go to baronspace.com/momwrestlingpod to find this particular podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Mondays Podcast. Almost gave you the wrong Twitter address. That would be a really doofus move to do. And of course, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/momwrestlingpod. That's why I got the Twitter confused, is because those two are Mom Wrestling Pod and that one's Mondays Podcast. But that's totally beside the point. If you are a wrestling professional, wrestling podcaster, wrestling media super duper person, I would love to talk to you, and you can get a hold of me on any of the social medias, on Twitter, on Facebook, or you can shoot me a email. Ann is the correct grammar, an email at momwrestlingpod@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, and if you have something that you want to say to me, something about the show that you're interested in, please shoot me a DM in my Twitter, shoot me an inbox on my Facebook, go to my email, give me an email, let me know what you think of the show, what I can do to improve, people that you'd like me to try and talk to. I'll reach out to absolutely anybody that you want me to talk to. I don't care. I have no shame. Next week, we will be talking with Joe Roderick from the What a Rush podcast. That's, all about Hawk and Animal, Legion of Doom. You know, great show. One of those awesome shows, just like Front Row Material last week, where they're talking about the past of wrestling, the history of wrestling, mixed in with today's stuff too. Be sure to come back next week to check out Joe Roderick's interview. Be sure to listen to this week's episode again. Why not do it again? But go to Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, wherever the hell it is that you get your podcast. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss another episode. And of course, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, give this a like, hit that subscribe, hit that little ding bell. And of course, give me reviews, ratings, anywhere, everywhere. Want those 5 stars. I want that. He's got the face for podcasting, but really though, he could absolutely be my dream boat. Just kidding. Just kidding. But if you want me to, I'm cheap. Easy. What am I even talking about right now? Hey, support staff. Hit me with that sweet outro music. Which, incidentally, is from Alpha Jaguar, which I need to start saying at the end of every show. Outro music! You guys are the worst. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you once again for listening to A Month of Mondays, the Wrestling Magazine podcast. I've been your host, Gabe Yanis, and I just have a couple things to say. Be sure to check us out at baronspace.com/momwrestlingpod or find us on Twitter at Mondays Podcast. You can always find more great Baron Space podcasts at baronspace.com. Did I mention this has been a Baron Space production?